decided that I would paint this flag for my Facebook group, Creative Innovations in Painting. And I just fell in love with the whole gnome, and I love butterflies and sunflowers. And I also love painting and creating Dollar Tree plates from their glass plates. So I decided I would create some templates because I know not all of my creative friends can paint. So I've got the gnome template, and there's some extra bumblebees and some extra flowers. Then I have the welcome to our hive, again with some extra flowers. Then this particular template page is so that you can cut these out and put them around the outside rim of the plates. And then the fourth template in this kit simply has extra flowers, so you could put these on placemats or napkins or whatever. You could put him on a vase or a planter, and you can print them up and, you know, do all kinds of home decor things with them. Now I want to say, if you are purchasing these templates from me, that you need to have a laser printer, and because if you use an inkjet, all of the ink will just bleed when we use the mediums to put them on the plates. And when I go to cut them out, I make a decision whether or not I'm going to have a colorized rim around the outside edge. You could have yellow, you could have black, you could have green, whatever color you want, and white. But if you're going to have black, what I do, if I was going to cut this and have a black rim, I would just cut and have my scissors in the middle of the circle. And then that way you know it's going to look nice and even. If I was going to have a white on the outside, I would cut on the inside of the line, leaving just the white. And so then you can see that there's no black there and there is black here. So depending on what you want to do with the outside edge will determine how you're going to be cutting these out. So before I begin, I've already washed these, but then what I do is I make sure that I only touch them underneath, and I go over them with a baby wipe that does not have any oils in it, because it has rubbing alcohol in it. And then I make sure it's nice and dry. Now when we're going to decoupage this on, we have to make sure that we're using the Dishwasher Safe decoupage medium, because if you were to use any of the other ones, they will reconstitute in water. So I will very quickly, because the key is working very quickly, put some medium onto the plate. And I have used, I think this is 40-pound weight paper, so it's not very heavy. I find this adheres easier. You can easily get bubbles with this or ripples, so you have to be very careful. And I apply this very quickly and very evenly, getting it all over my hands. If you don't like the feel of this glue on your hands, just make sure you wear some gloves. And I make sure that I really have it on the edges really nice too. Then what we do is we place it in the center. And then I very quickly use my finger to work out any of the bubbles and the air that might be underneath. I then come in with the brayer and try to work out the rest of the air. And then again I use my finger to smooth it out, just in case I get any marks from the brayer. That happens every now and then. And then I take a clean paper towel and just wipe off the excess. I will not put the top coat on until what's underneath is dry. I really don't have a lot of puckering, And what I do is I just kind of watch it. I also like to use my hair dryer and heat it right away so it doesn't pucker up. And I'm going to do that, and I'll turn the sound off so it doesn't hurt your ears. Now once that's dry, then I will come in and put a top coat of the Dishwasher Safe Medium on it. And I'll repeat this step once it's dry. And this one I will just let it naturally air dry. On this plate, I'm just kind of getting the spacing down on how I want to do the flowers and the bees, because I want to use these larger templates of the flowers and bees to bring out the whole theme of the hive. And so I'm just kind of getting an idea of where I want to place them before I flip it over. And now I'm going to put the decoupage medium on the top and the bottom. And it is hard to handle, but this way we don't get too much excess Mod Podge onto the plates. And I'm going to angle these just a little bit. And then come in and use a firm brush to just pounce them into position. And then I'm going to, I think what I'll do is just pretty much put where I think the flowers are going to go around the outside edges. So that they're all spaced fairly evenly. And these will all go on the same way. So once they're all evenly spaced, we can come in and do the same thing, putting the bees around. And I do want to have little trailers on these, so I'll put one just a little bit closer to the flower. So this is what it's looking like so far, and then what I need to do is I need to put the bee trails on while the medium's drying. I can do that. I'm going to go through and really make sure that I've got all of the excess medium off, and then I'll be back. I'm using my Dreamweaver stylus, and I'm going to dip it into some wicker white, and I'm going to simply place it down and make some bee trails. And then what I'll do is trying to keep them the same size. And then I'll curve them around. And towards the end, I'll just let them get smaller, and so I won't refill it. So if you can see there how they just kind of diminished away. And I'm going to do that to all of the bees and connect them that way. Now I'm working on the larger plate, and I'm going to go all the way around. Only this time, because these are much bigger flowers, I'm going to just go ahead and put the medium right in the middle. Because they're so much bigger than the smaller flowers, it would be harder to put the medium directly on them. And then I'll have a little baby wipe, and I'll wipe off my plate as soon. So I try to press from the center first, working outwards in case there's any folds or anything in the inside. And it lays down a lot better that way. And then I'll come in, I'll put my decoupage medium over the top. And I come in and I just take this is an Equate hand wipe. And I wipe off the excess. Now once this has dried, I'm going to come in and I'm going to put a second coat over it. I'm trying to keep it just on the flowers, but if I go out the outside, what I'm going to do is the same thing as before, is just wipe up the excess with my baby wipe. And this is just to protect the flowers from becoming too transparent, because you could, if you were to come over this with white, with wicker white in the background, then you don't have to do this, but I want to come over it with the licorice, and so which is black, and the folk art enamel line. So I want to make sure that I have a nice coat so that my paper does not become transparent. I want to coat the main paper, and so what I'm doing is I'm coming in with wicker white. And I want to make sure I go all the way to the edge with this. And I do put 2 coats on, and then that way the main design will not become transparent. Because I will also make the entire back the licorice color, and we don't want that black showing through. And I do that to all of the background. So we'll let this dry, and then we'll come in and put some coats of black on. Once you've put a second coat on the paper with the decoupage medium and you've cleared up your glass, now it's time to come in with the licorice folk art enamel paint. And what I like to do is I'll start on the outside edge until there's very little in my brush, and then I work up towards this, because I don't want, towards the center, I don't want it to seep underneath. And what I'm going to do is just put a very light coat down. Lay your hand back as much as you can so that you get as little strokes as possible. So I stay away from the center when I first put my brush down and it has the paint in it. And then when I just have a small amount in, then I come up. And this will probably take 2 coats, possibly 3, because I use such thin coats to build it up. I allow it to cure overnight before I put a second coat down. You want to make sure that you don't have globs on, and you want to make sure that you're painting this, applying a very thin coat. I think the biggest mistake, everyone comes in as they'll really load up their brush, have big thick globs. I don't know if you could tell how thick that was. And then it won't dry, or what will be worse is it will peel off like a sticker because you put too much on at once. So lots of thin coats are the way to go. I'm working on the small Gnome plate now, and I'm going to flip it over. I have the ring of 4. And first I will put the Dishwasher Safe medium on the front. And I want to make sure that I really get it on all of the petals. So I'm doing both sides before I put it down. You have to work very, very quick. And I put the center down first. And I'm just using my brush to kind of get it into position. And then I use a bigger brush to just kind of pounce it down. And this brush is clean. So now this time what I'm going to do is start the spacing right over here so that they're just barely touching. So after I put the 3 sections of 4 flowers, what will be done, what I'll have is a space that's enough for 1 flower. And so I just cut out an individual flower then and put that on. I'm going to let this dry thoroughly, and then what I'll do is I'll come back in and put another coat of the Dishwasher Safe ModPodge on here. So on the Welcome to Our Hive, what I did was put the set of 3 flowers around, and then I put the bees in there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm taking some of the enamel paints. I'm taking some of the wicker white, and I'm using a Dreamweaver stylus from Stampendous, and they have these little balls on the end, and I'm going to just stick the ball into the paint and set it down. And what I do is, if I want the same size, I just keep reloading it. And so then what I'm doing is making a little bee trail. Now what I'm doing is I'll continue it on, and then you can see as I'm not reloading, it gets smaller. And I'll do that for all 3 of them. So on this one on the back, it looks pretty even. But what you want to do to test it is to turn it over, and I can see that there's my finger, I can actually see through that. And this is going to be so cute when it's done, but we're going to have to continue putting coats on until we have a nice dark opacity of the licorice on the back. I have some placemats from Dollar Tree, and they're the vinyl type, and you can make them double-sided and paint on the white side, or you can simply paint on the side, which I'm choosing to do. And then I'm going to come in with some gesso paint, and we'll take a couple coats, but this sticks to vinyl really, really well, and I'm just rolling it on. So on the placemat, I came in and I marked about 2.5 inches, and then I used an identi pen to just make the line. I don't know if you can see, but I have a piece of Scotch magic tape, of which I put on my clothes first and then put it down, because I don't want it lifting any paint, because my paint is still not cured. And then I'm going to just come in with the Delta Black, which is regular acrylic paint, and I'm going to just base coat this in. Once the paint is dry, what we're going to do is we're going to use the medium-sized Dreamweaver stylus, and I'm going to use the bigger of the 2 ends. I have put out White by Delta Ceramcoat, and what I'm going to do is simply, each time I want to put the dot down, I reload it. And then what I'll do is alternate it. The reason I reload it is because in that way I will get the same size dot each time. Periodically, if it takes a while for you to do this, if you're doing multiple placemats, you should wipe your stylus off so the paint does not begin to dry and then make bigger dots for you. Now you need to let the dots completely dry so they're not going to smear. And then what I did is I cut out some of the flowers from the templates, and I'm going to space them along here. I think I'm going to need 5. Let's see. Oh, that will work really well. So I'm using the matte ModPodge, and I'll put this down, and because it's matte I can spread it out. And I try to have it lined up where the flowers are going over half of the white and half of the black. And then from there we'll just continue to build. And then I'll repeat it on the other side. Now you can also come in and randomly put some bees. I thought that would be cute. So you can print out with the templates that come with this particular packet. You can print out as many templates as you want and use them in so many different ways. Once the decoupage medium is all dry, then what I'm going to do is take and make some bee trailers with my Adenta pen. Oh, and I think that's looking so cute. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it with some automotive spray outside, so I can't do that in here. But then that's going to stop anything from sticking to it. And then they'll be done. So I'm working on the lampshade now, and I just love these lampshades by Debbie Bankston. And I'm going to have a link of how you can order them. I prepped it with some clear gesso, and then I did come in and I put a coat of the Delta White up here, and this is simply about a 1/2 inch from the inside. I put just some of the Delta Black, and so now we're going to come in and I'm going to make dots along the bottom. And so what I'm going to do is simply dip it in the Delta White acrylic paint, and then I'm going to start here. And each time, in order to get the same size dot, I will reload it. Because if you do not reload it, the dot will keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Now I want to decoupage some flowers along the border, but we need to make sure that those dots are completely dry. And so I'm going to come in and I'm going to put this flower in, and these are all included on the templates. And this time I'm using the matte ModPodge. And I'm trying to center it, and then I'll just really quick go over it with my brush. Now since there's multiple size flowers in the templates, you could put the larger or the smaller ones on. I'm going to use 4 small ones. And again, I'm going to use the matte ModPodge. So what I want to do is I want to lay these out. And I have to make sure that those dots are dry, otherwise they're going to smear all over. So I kind of just put them in the areas where I'm going to adhere them. And I try to put the tips of the leaves along the black border. some reason you forget to wash out your brush after you're done, just use some rubbing alcohol and put your brush in the rubbing alcohol. Now at this point you can choose whether or not you want to put some bees on the design. You can leave it plain or you can put them on. I'm thinking it would be cute to have 2 on here. So then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just add some cute little bee trails, and I'm using an Identi-Pen. And by making dashes, it's just really easy to control. I'll let this cure a little bit, and then I'll use some type of matte varnish to just come over the whole thing. I'll let this cure a little bit, and then I'm going to come over and put one last coat of the matte Mod Podge over it so that it will act as a varnish. Okay, so now I have the Crafter's Square double-sided tape. I'm going to use that along the edge to form the lampshade. Once I've got the score tape down, I simply peel it off the back. But then I'm going to take a little bit of E6000 because I'm going to keep these. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit in 3 sections. So the tape will hold it into position while the glue dries. And then I'll wipe off any excess that I might have. And then this sets right on top of the wine glass as a lampshade. So when you set your place, you can alternate the salad plates with the different patterns with the beehive and the gnome. Or you can put them all together. I just love the way the placemats turned out with this. And look at this cute little lampshade. I just love it. It just turned out so adorable. And the vase and these dark placemats were also from Dollar Tree too. For those of you who enjoy painting, I hope you'll come and join us in the Creative Innovations in Painting group, where I'll be teaching this flag on August 5th. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed making these Dollar Tree table decor items, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, may painting always bring you joy.